Cookie Miller, and this is Worth the Wait. Join me every week as I explore profound weight loss solutions beyond just diet and exercise, because a lifestyle change starts with changing your mind. This week's podcast is sponsored by Cookie Miller Coaching, a holistic online weight loss coaching service that aims to help women who have 30 pounds or more to lose. This program is for the woman who has tried everything and is serious about making a lifestyle change. Visit apply.cookiemiller.com to be added to the wait list, and you'll be notified as soon as a spot becomes available. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Worth the Wait. I am your host, Cookie Miller, and today we are talking about alcohol and weight loss. So from margaritas to wine and everything in between, how does alcohol affect weight loss? We are going to find out, and I'm going to break this into a few parts. So we're going to talk calories, then we're going to talk about appetite, how alcohol actually processes through the body, and of course, I'm going to give you some tips to avoid weight gain while consuming alcohol. So here we go. Now, when you think of weight loss, you often think calories in versus calories out. And when you think about those calories, most of the time you're thinking about calories from food. So we tend to become very hyper-focused on staying away from foods with high amounts of empty calories. So things like cookies or chips or fast food. But a lot of the times we don't consider the calories that we drink. I believe the calories that we drink are far more dangerous. I mean, we can finish a drink in the blink of an eye versus a meal that would at least take several minutes to consume. Alcohol is high in calories, all of which are empty, by the way, but more on that later. So though alcohol itself is high in calories, much of the excess we get from consuming alcoholic beverages comes from the soda, the sweeteners, the syrups, or other mixers that are used in these types of drinks. So according to the National Institutes of Health, a 12-ounce regular beer is 153 calories, 1.5 ounces of gin, whiskey, vodka, tequila, rum, those types of things are around 100 calories. A 5-ounce actual pour of red wine is 125 calories. Now, when's the last time you actually had a glass of wine and you poured it correctly to 5 ounces, or did you just pour the whole thing in the glass and fill it up to the brim, right? So those are some things to keep in mind as far as calorie numbers. Now, usually when you're drinking, you're going to have at least 2 drinks. So let's say that one drink is a margarita and then 1 glass of the measured wine. That's about 300 extra calories with just 2 drinks. And don't even get me started on those jumbo frozen margaritas. I mean, you can easily hit 500 calories with just one of those. And I've seen some of them go up to 800 calories. So you never really know when things are mixed exactly how many calories they are. Now, aside from the calories actually in the alcohol and in the mixers, alcohol has another way of impacting us, and that is through our appetite. So imagine this. It's Saturday night, you hit the town, you drink until 2 a.m., and then you promptly direct your Uber driver to stop at whatever fast food spot is open at that time. And before you can even get home, you down the fries in the back of the car, right? So now, in addition to the excess calories from the drinks you had, you can add another 800 to 1,800 calories to that. And I did my research here because for me, what's open at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night after drinking? I'm in Texas, so Whataburger. And believe it or not, one of the meals on Whataburger, I forgot what it was. I think it was like a barbecue something or another. It was 1,800 calories for the meal. That's just like the burger and the fries. That's not including whatever type of drink you get. If you choose to get a drink, then you can probably tack on another 200 calories for that. So alcohol increases our appetite, which causes us to eat more, and not just immediately after we drink, but for some people, it can cause you to eat more well into the next day. So not the most ideal situation for someone on a weight loss journey who is striving for a caloric deficit. Another way that alcohol impacts your appetite is really it lowers your inhibitions. And so you may plan that day to go out and I'm going to drink and, I'm just going to have this and I'm going to do that, right? But once you start to drink, then those inhibitions leave and all of those things you said you were going to do go out the window, and that's how you end up at the drive-thru to begin with. So that is something to keep in mind when you're drinking. At this point, some of you may be thinking, what's one day with extra calories, or I'll just make Saturday my cheat day, but you're missing one key fact about alcohol, and that is how it actually processes through your body. So when it comes to digestion, alcohol is really a big bully. It rushes to the front of the line in your digestive tract to be processed first. So that means before your body can process through what you ate before going out, or even the food that you eat afterward, it has to process that alcohol. So this means instead of your body receiving nutrients from the food, it is only processing through that alcohol, which is giving you no nutrients, and often it's leaving you feeling extremely dehydrated, very hungry, and not to mention it impacts your sleep for the rest of the night and possibly even into the next day, which can then lead to overeating that same night and into the next day. So yes, it is an endless cycle. Now, alcohol is ruthless because it doesn't just stop there. It can also cause you to retain a ton of water and become bloated. So if you've ever gone out and, the next day you find that you're super bloated, or if you have ever heard of a beer belly, right? You kind of know what that is not just a myth. It is a real thing because alcohol does what? It hinders fat loss, like we learned earlier, which of course leads to having that fat that you're holding on to in the belly. But on top of that, it also causes bloating, which of course causes the belly to distend out even more. And so it's kind of like belly fat on top of bloat, on top of everything else. So now that you know how alcohol can impact weight loss, I'm going to share some tips to help you lessen the effects during your weight loss journey. So first things first, if you can, abstain from alcohol while on your journey. I know this sounds crazy to even really say out loud, but when I really think back on my journey, because it's been, I think, 8 years or something now, but something that I really had to stop doing was drinking. I was not drinking nearly as much as I used to when I was actively within my weight loss phase, and that helped so much. That was something I found through trial and error. It was just finding out that the things that I was doing while drinking were not leading to, were not helping me get to my goal. So in other words, all of the going out and the constant, 2 a.m. trips to a fast food place and all of these things collectively were not helping me reach my weight loss goal. So for me personally, I chose to abstain from alcohol while I was on my weight loss journey, or extremely limit alcohol. I won't say abstain completely, because I know I had drinks here and there, but I mean, it was very, very limited. I'm talking about like maybe once a month or something like that, if I had to put a number on it. So that's an option. Now, this brings me to my next point, which is to drink in moderation. This varies for everyone. So instead of trying to figure out what a moderate, amount of drinking is, it would be better to just think about how often you drink and how much you drink, and try to reduce that by 10% each week. So if you found that, you added up how many drinks you have in a typical 7-day period, and that is 10 drinks, then that would mean that the next week you just aim to drop that down to nine drinks instead, and just keep dropping it until you get to an amount that's reasonable and okay for you. Another option or another way to do that is to just have alcohol-free days. Are you finding that you're drinking every single day? If so, if you're having that glass of wine every night, can you just have one day where you don't have any alcohol at all? I mean, this should be something that you're able to do. And if not, then there may be, there may be a next step that you need to take, and there may need to be some intervention there if you feel like you cannot have alcohol-free days. So try to implement some alcohol-free days to help you. My next tip is to aim for lower calorie options. That's going to be in your light beers, of course, any of your straight alcohol, so tequila, whiskey, brandy, all those things are about 100 calories per 1.5 ounce. The next thing is avoid any sugary mixed drinks. Go for straight alcohol because that is going to give you fewer calories. If you must have a mixer though, use a no calorie or low calorie mixer. So think about Coke Zero and rum instead of Coke and rum, right? That'll limit your calories just a bit. Next, you want to make sure that you're hydrated before you drink because like I mentioned before, alcohol can dehydrate you. So you want to make sure that you're hydrated before you drink, and you want to make sure that you eat before you drink. Please, please, please eat before you drink. I think sometimes people make the mistake of trying to save calories for alcohol, but often this just causes more overindulgence later. So you may be feeling like you're stopping those calories now, but by the end of the day, once you drink on that empty stomach and you go on about your day, you're going to need fuel and you're going to start craving it, and it more than likely will lead to a binge. Next, you want to plan your post-outing meal. So drinking alcohol really relaxes your inhibition, of course, and it can lead to making more unhealthy food choices later. So if you know you're going to be having drinks, then plan your post-cub meal, plan your post-bar meal. And that just means like if you have something at home that's prepped that you can come home to and eat, that may just stop you from making the stop at a fast food place on your way home because you have something that is already prepared that you can eat. And trust me, when you are drinking, all you want to do is eat. Like, you're not going to be thinking too hard. You're just going to be so grateful that you have this already prepped meal there. It doesn't matter if it's not a burger and fries, My last tip is to choose a method and stick to it. So I know I just gave you guys so many different solutions and different tricks that you can do to really help yourself. But my biggest one is to not try to do all of these things at once. Instead, I want you to choose one thing. So that may be swapping the sugary mixed drinks for lower calorie straight options, or that may be taking the one day off of alcohol, or that may be reducing it by 10%. But just choose one and add in other tips as you go. So get really strong in one of the tips first, and then add things on if you still see the need to do so. So we've gone over alcohol, its calories, how it's processed in the body, how it affects our appetite, and tips for drinking alcohol while on a weight loss journey. So now you should feel empowered to make the best decision for you and your personal weight loss journey. And I really hope that this episode has been helpful. So thank you guys so much for listening to Worth the Wait. Of course, if this episode or any of our episodes have helped you, please consider leaving us a review on whichever platform you are listening on. You can also take a screenshot and tag us on IG. We are at Worth the Wait Podcast, and we will definitely be sure to repost. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.